So how do you define your leadership style, and how it actually evolved from when you first started your first agency and then now to Filter and then Personalised WP?
Yeah, I think hopefully it's reasonably kind of grown up and has become more consistent over the years. I think I've learned that the importance of trying to remain emotionally reasonably stable when things are kind of moving at a rate around you.
If I say in an industry driven by rapid technological change we are having today, so how do you ensure those values, like you said, those having courageous conversations with the client, how do you ensure those values remain at the core of your work?
People are the heart and lungs of Filter, and it's kind of doing everything you can do to keep that alive and healthy. So what we do is we make sure we get the foundations right. So you make sure that you've got a good computer, that you have a screen, and that you have AirPods or whatever you need to do your job. And then we sort of make sure that everyone has the right level of freedom. And so we talk about, let's have really good communication between us.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Curiosulus Chronicles podcast. Today on the show, I am joined by Oliver Morrison, the founder and CEO of Filter, a UK-based digital agency known for crafting scalable, user-focused digital solutions for brands like JD Wetherspoon and Crystal Palace FC. He's also the co-founder of Personalised WP, a tool pushing the boundaries of personalized web experiences. Oliver's leadership blends strategic thinking with a human-centered approach to innovation. And I'm excited to dive into his journey, insights, and the future of digital creativity. But before we jump onto the show, I would like to thank Abhyuday Global Coach Circle for their support. And like I said, if you are looking to get into professional coaching, do check out their upcoming programs. I'm very excited for this episode. So without further ado, let's crack on. Hi, Oli. Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, good. Great to see you, Rohit.
Yeah, great to see you as well, Oli. It's been ages since we met, so good to see you.
I was looking back, I think we worked together in 2012,
Yes.
13, and we were just talking off camera there that you were doing photography for my wedding in 2016, and
wow.
great to see you.
Yeah,
how time flies.
How time flies, indeed. Look, we kids have grown up. We kind of busy. It's such a, when I look back, that time was amazing. We learned a lot, and then where we are today, I mean, it's amazing journey. So this is why I invited you to share your journey with the audience. So which will be, I'm sure, it'll be great for the audience, and they can definitely learn something.
Great, that's really great to be invited on. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thanks for giving your time. So let's start from a little bit of, you tell the audience where you are today, what are you doing? So.
Yeah, sure. So I'm CEO of Filter, founded Filter back in 2016. We provide strategic design, development and performance optimization services to a range of businesses. Importantly, we're a remote first business. We've been operational for almost 9 years, which is a great achievement, and have achieved kind of year on year growth for each of those years. We're now a team of 45. Me personally, I live in Wimbledon. Got a couple of boys and a wife, and it's actually been great having a remote business, being able to spend more time with the family. But we specialise in open source technology and delivering transformational change, to a range of businesses in a variety of sectors.
Yeah, amazing. I'm very, very proud as well, a little bit, because I know you, so where the journey has gone. So I'm very, very proud. And like I said earlier, thanks very much for giving the time to come on the show and share your journey. So let's start with Pleasure. Filter, Oli. What inspired you? I know 2016 it's been 9 years now, right? What inspired you to start Filter, and how did your basically previous experience when we worked together shaped its mission?
Yeah, I think as you know, I had built and run a reasonable size agency before, and actually starting Filter was the opportunity to start something much smaller and kind of get back to doing a lot of the work again myself. I'll probably say we quite a lot in this, and that's because I co-founded Filter with Paul, who I met in 2006, and we've been working together ever since. But our simple kind of starting proposition was actually solving digital challenges for ambitious organizations. And we'd kind of probably both worked in and around agencies for over 15 years. We'd worked for amazing brands, Vodafone, Rolls-Royce, David Lloyd, Virgin Active, Royal Caribbean, you know lots of them, Lloyd's. But actually when we started, it was really scary. It was kind of a bit like starting from the beginning again. And I mean, not to sound arrogant though, but I don't think either myself or Paul saw failure as an option necessarily. And I think in hindsight, I was getting married the month I started Filter. As you know, you were there. I had a child on the way.
Yeah.
I was buying a house. I was putting my life savings into starting the business, and I think it was an important time for getting things right.
Yeah. So if you look back, a lot of changes happening at that time, right? How did it make you feel that time?
I think you kind of get on with these things, and we'll talk, I guess, a little bit about leadership a bit kind of later on. But I think it's about just putting your kind of foot forward and getting on with it. I was quite lucky where Paul's children are slightly older than mine, and he gave me good grace for the first few years, particularly while mine was small, and understanding, that a bit of sleep deprivation and all those types of things. So actually we started Filter quite slowly, and that was really helpful.
So slow, like they say, slow and steady wins the race. So yeah, no, I think you're doing great. You're doing great, Oli. Yeah. So, and then when I was reading about Filter as well, and then read about Personalised WP, right? And then how did that idea come about, and what kind of gaps it fills in the digital landscape?
Yeah, so Personalised WP was born during COVID, actually. And COVID was a time that we took as a business to reset, keep everyone together, sharpen our skills. But Paul and I have been working in and around content management systems really for all of our careers, from building our own proprietary platforms to working with Optimizely and Sitecore, as you know, and Braco and kind of WordPress. And actually, part of setting up Filter, we really wanted to narrow our focus to the open source space, and particularly into WordPress. And one of the areas where WordPress consistently sort of had limitations is around personalization, and it would come up a lot in new business discussions. They're kind of complicated workarounds if you want to integrate with CDPs and all of that type of thing, but it can get kind of fiddly and expensive. So what we wanted to do was build something pretty close to the core of WordPress, a plugin that worked with the block editor. And essentially it kind of works in quite a simple way, where we start to kind of anonymously track behavior around the website, and based on setting up different rules and observing behaviors, we can promote different content to users. And that's really, I guess, the kind of the first step. And then we've started building the product out to integrate with Woo, to integrate with forms, where we can start to actually marry kind of known data, so purchase history, filling out forms, etc., and then start to kind of lead score and segment and do all the types of things that you're used to in the more kind of enterprisey platforms, but without that big tech overhead of needing to bring a big team in to kind of configure it. And I think probably most pleasing is that it aligns really closely with our agency proposition around being able to deliver personalized and performant experiences. So we get to use our product on our own clients, which is pretty cool.
Nice. So is it quite, like you said earlier, is it not open source, is it? This is the proprietary kind of personalization tool for the clients.
Exactly. So WordPress is an open source open source CMS essentially, and then what you can do is you can use plugins to extend the functionality of that core content management system, and some of those plugins are paid for at a reasonably kind of low price point and just allow you to extend that functionality.
No, great. So let's move on to your leadership style, which is the whole base of the podcast is, So how do you define your leadership style, and how it actually evolved from when you first started your first agency, and then now to Filter and then Personalised WP?
Yeah, I think hopefully it's reasonably kind of grown up and has become more consistent over the years. I think I've learned that the importance of trying to remain emotionally reasonably stable when things are kind of moving at a rate around you. I think the most important thing is our team are the heart and lungs of what we do. They're the experts, and they're the kind of talent. And I think my role is understanding and setting the strategic direction for the team, and then providing them, I guess, with the tools and the guidance and the support and the confidence and motivation to allow them, the freedom to get on and do a really good job. I think my job certainly isn't to have all of the answers, but it's being able to provide the environment for everyone else to, ask the right questions and come up with the right solutions. I think we try at the heart of what we do to empower the whole team, and we have a reasonably autonomous, kind of flattish structure. You need a little bit of hierarchy in there. But the fundamentals are really built on, respect and collaboration. We collaborate highly as a team, and no proposal goes out without multiple people feeding into it, multiple iterations, and I think that's sort of sets us apart in some ways.
Yeah, great. So what I heard is more is bottom up and top down as well. It's like quite collaborative, quite distributed leadership, if I can call it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we built a senior leadership team back in kind of COVID, and that was really hard. Actually, kind of letting go and giving some of the operational responsibility to other people. But that's really helped us to have, I guess, multiple kind of leaders across the business. A lot of the development team, again, I've been working with, as you know, for 15 to 20 years. There's a lot of kind of natural leadership and I guess kind of protection of standards in what we do, and that makes my job a lot easier, because not everyone in the business is always looking for me to sort of set that direction.
Great. And how this actually evolved when you first started and what you are today? How has it evolved, your style?
I think it just comes with confidence, and that's born out of experience, really. I think I was pretty naive when I started my first business, and we came down to London and thought all big ad agencies didn't understand digital and they're a bit rubbish at it, and we'd show them how to do it. And the change in technology and the rate of change is so fast that you kind of realize that you have to keep iterating, keep evolving to keep up. And I think leadership styles probably the same. I think you have to understand that you are pretty central to people's lives, so spend a lot of time at work, and you've got to make that an environment that everyone wants to be part of. And I think you also have to be grown up enough to know that you're possibly just a stepping stone, or just part of a discrete part of someone's life and their career, and not to get upset if people have ambitions at times to move on or want to try different things. So yeah, probably just evolve with experience and being a bit calmer and trying to remain a bit more constant, as I was saying up top.
Okay, great. And can you share an example with our audience of any leadership challenge you faced in your journey so far, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably rather than specific examples necessarily, it's more that I think there's leadership challenges every day, and you can go from having a great day to 5 minutes later things being a bit different. But I think there's look, some of the challenges are really visible, and then there's the what I call almost like the invisible or less visible challenges. So a visible challenge this week, it's reasonably topical. There's quite a lot going on in sort of digital security and some problems that M&S and Co-op and Parrots have reportedly had. So there's kind of leadership in the sense of that's quite visible. So we need to get on the front foot, and we need to proactively engage with our clients and ensure that we're doing the right things in that area. There's also visible leadership. We had one quite recently where we were talking with a potential new client, and actually I thought they were a bit disrespectful to our team. They would turn up to meetings late, they would hop off early, they were sort of expecting us to solutionize on the spot without necessarily sharing everything. So so I basically explained that we didn't want to work with them because it doesn't fit with our values and culture and how we want to operate. So I think that's kind of leading, visibly by example. And then there's the kind of invisible stuff, which is the maybe, I don't know, late night sitting on the sofa thinking about things. So it's so if you take an example that, AI is fundamentally changing, how people are engaging with the internet, and, many more things, how businesses are operating. So it's kind of sitting there invisibly thinking about how we remain relevant and how we're going to adjust again. But I think what I've learned is that there's always challenges to leadership, and it's about trying to consistently work smarter, not necessarily harder, but smarter. And that you have to kind of embrace these challenges and changes. And then it becomes a lot easier. It doesn't become a big thing. It's just like another challenge, another good opportunity to get better and evolve.
Great. Yeah. So I heard the couple of things here which I heard, which I'm quite interested in. We're talking more on this. So it's like one of the courageous conversation you had with a client, when you saw the respect for people, which your value is, what I heard in Filter, is not been met by the client. So, and then second is the human-centric approach you are following. So how did, and then you mentioned about the rapid changes happening within the industry, like AI coming in, a lot of changes happening. So if I say in an industry driven by rapid technological change we are having today, so how do you ensure those values, like you said, those having courageous conversations with the client, how do you ensure those values remain at the core of your work?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think, again, probably going back to what I was saying up top, is that the people are the heart and lungs of Filter, and it's kind of doing everything you can do to keep that alive and healthy. So from I guess with a remote angle lens to it, which makes us slightly unique. So we can't necessarily have a chat by the water cooler or high five people around the office necessarily, and kind of demonstrate in those sort of kind of open ways. So what we do is we make sure we get the foundations right. So you make sure that you've got a good computer, that you have a screen, and that you have AirPods or whatever you need to do to do your job. And then we sort of make sure that everyone has the right level of freedom. And so we talk about, let's have really good communication between us. Let's work really hard, get the job done. And then I'm not going to be on your back if you pop off to go to the gym or pick the kids up from school, because that's exactly what I want to be doing. And then we have some really clear principles, and I think these have been really helpful to us. So family is more important than work, which is a fact, and we actively talk about that a lot as a business. Everyone has honest intentions, which is really good. We don't do politics or clambering to move places. I think people are most fulfilled when they're kind of proud of the work that they're doing. So we're always trying to build brilliant solutions. And then there's that kind of level of giving back and treating people fairly. So Paul and I try and reward the team where we can. We don't really talk about it openly, but we try and give quite a lot to charity. And I guess we try and encourage the team, to do the same sort of things. Let's praise in public, which we do a lot as a business, and let's kind of keep those more difficult conversations maybe behind the scenes. But I think having a really healthy team and workforce is kind of helpful. I think the final point on that is culture. When I was talking to the team at Christmas time a lot about culture, and culture is so important for our business. And I was saying to the team that I think our culture is pretty good at the moment, and that when people look back in 5 or 10 years' time, they'll say that was a pretty magic time. And what I want to make sure is that we all feed that culture and we contribute. So whether you're frontline and client facing, or whether you're building with code in the background, I want to see everyone contributing. I want to see everyone working together, supporting each other, intrinsically knowing what our standards are and making sure that we work to those, and just not taking for granted what we have. You have to, like a relationship, you have to keep at it. You have to keep working at it, and your way is not always the right way, and be open to other opinions and suggestions.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt. I want you to share a message. If you are enjoying this conversation and you are a leader looking to elevate your impact, you are not alone, and you don't have to do it alone. I offer one-on-one coaching for founders, executives, and change makers who are ready to lead with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Whether you are navigating growth, change, or simply the next big leap, I'll help you unlock your full leadership potential. Visit rugba.com to learn more and book a free discovery call. Now, back to the episode. No, that's great to hear. Great to hear, Oli. So let's move on to some client work as well, because that's your specialty. That's how the Filter do the work. So you have worked with diverse range of clients, from football clubs to pubs and veterinary clinics. So how do you tailor your approach to meet varying client needs?
Yeah, again, it's a really good question, because it's the hardest part of running a business like we have. We talk about it a lot internally, is the context switching.
Yeah.
And quite often you're doing that in 15-minute windows. So I can be moving from doing HR or reviewing a legal contract or doing management accounts, through to standing or sitting in a boardroom presenting C-suite strategy. So it's quite difficult. But we have 3 distinct components to our business. So we have agency, which is the shop window to our business. That's our WordPress building, our work in WooCommerce, but essentially design and build. And I'm really proud that we're one of the UK's leading agencies in that space currently. We have Personalised WP, which is our product, which is brilliant because it aligns with our agency proposition. But it's a totally different mindset. We have to get into the mindset of product, and how do we make this product great for its users, and how do we make it relevant? And then we have the work that we do with Wetherspoon, and they're our largest client, and they are a £2 billion business. They have over 40,000 employees. They have millions of customers, and we're creating business critical applications for them, for both their customers and their employees. So again, it's a slightly different mindset. It's a slightly different tech stack. And I guess what I'm sort of saying with those 3 examples is we do have to tailor what we do for different clients and different needs at different times. And that's quite challenging.
It's quite challenging, yeah. So how do you then keep that, human-centering approach during those challenging times when you have to do a lot of context switching? Because what I believe in with context switching, you have to go back and start again, and then you context switch again. We can't be 100% optimal in that space, right, as humans. So how do you maintain that human-centering approach with employees?
Yeah, it's hard, because sometimes you can be a bit, someone gets you your bad 15 minutes, or they want a view on something. And quite often you have to say, I don't know, I need to give that a bit of thought, or actually let's all just slow down, that perhaps we don't need to talk about that right this second. And I mean, something I struggle with personally is that we have so many channels coming into us all the time. So
Mm.
Slack and WhatsApp and email, and some's personal and some's work. And it's sometimes, it's having the conversation saying, I don't necessarily need that on Slack because that's a slower type of
Mm.
conversation. Maybe we
Mm.
do that on email. But, I've worked with a lot of the team at Filter now for many years, and we all have our kind of quirks and differences, and different people have different preferences. And a lot of the time, actually, we just throw a Hangout link and we jump on a video call, and it's quite nice. You can look at each other in the face and have a proper conversation.
Yeah, so that always helps, isn't it? That always helps, having a proper conversation than emailing or slacking, and and
I think emojis help as well, don't they? A smiley face at the ticket, just to say that.
yeah,
Don't mean that sounds so blunt.
yeah, yeah. So, can you then obviously you talked about the projects you do and context switching you do a lot. So, can you describe a project that particularly challenged the team, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of projects I could use over the years, and but I think something that sticks in my mind. So last summer we rebuilt the order and pay application for Wetherspoon. So this is their app that you can go into any of their pubs, and you can order a beer and a burger and ice and a straw, or whatever you need through the application. And I guess it sounds kind of reasonably simple on face value, but they have over 800 pubs across the UK. They have different menus in the different pubs. They have different menus at different times of day in the pubs that they only want to show at those times of day. They have different networks. They have an EPOS provider in there. They have a variety of payment gateways. You obviously have different device types, different software that people are running. So it quite quickly gets quite complicated. Wetherspoon also operate pubs in airports, which typically open, I think, about 4 a.m. And only close a few hours before that. So it's pretty much an always-on operation. And to give it some sort of sizing, they have 4 to 5 million active installs of the application, and at Christmas time, peak times, they could be doing 16 transactions per second, all going through our technology. So it's challenging in that it's got to be right, and if there's a problem or an issue, it's potentially a big problem or a big issue quite quickly.
Okay, so your personal habits, and routines, what do you do for that? How those contributed most to your success as a leader?
Yeah, I mean, it's not very exciting, but I'm incredibly routine. I'm incredibly routine driven. I'm quite habitual in what I do. So I think every day when I start work, I typically write 3 or 4 things on a post-it note, which are the main focuses of the day, the things that I really need to kind of get to, and that helps me focus. I always start a bit earlier than the real day starts and kind of get prepared. I think I try to be a good listener as a routine, and try to make time for the team. So quite often someone might Slack me and say, have you got 5 minutes? And I really like to say, yes, as much as I can. And I try to sort of think that sort of smart people ask simple questions. So I like to just ask simple questions and understand what's happening. I think the other thing that I've really learned recently, stupidly, or that I've been ignoring for too long, is that the importance of sleep and exercise. And I remember reading Chris Evans' book years ago, and he was saying that when you're busy and you're kind of stressed, you do all the wrong things. So you're typically working really long hours. You are typically not exercising. You're typically eating kind of junk food. And actually, you should be doing all of the other things. So you should not be drinking so much alcohol. You should be going to bed earlier, looking after yourself. So I'm trying to exercise more and sleep more as I've got a bit older. And then I also heard something. So we were lucky. We won a few Beamer Interactive Media Association awards last year. And
nice.
yeah, which was great achievement by the team. None of my good work. Their former president, Simon Gill, who's no longer with us, but he had a sort of saying, which was to be tough on the work and kind on the people. And I just think that really summarises Filter really well, that we work to really exacting high standards on the work, and we'd get there collaboratively, but we try to be as kind on each other as we can be through that process.
So now coming to that, when you mentioned about the books, right? Are there any other books or podcasts like our one, right? or any the mentors that have significantly influenced your leadership journey?
Other than your podcast?
Other than mine?
No, not massively. If I'm usually reading or listening to something, that's, I guess, levitates perhaps towards leadership or success in some ways. I'm reading something at the moment called it's called No Bullshit Leadership by a guy called Chris Hurst, and Chris was the CEO of Grey Worldwide when I started my career, and it's just quite an interesting book in that if you kind of boil it down, it's basically saying leadership is like a decision and not a position. So I guess it kind of strips away any mystique and complexity around leadership, and it's sort of saying that actually you just need to be willing to step up, make those decisions, and keep things moving forwards. Paul has also been on at me to read this. Actually, I've got it here. Scale at Speed.
Right.
And that's really interesting. And one of the big points in there, again, that we touched on about the leadership team is actually just leaders learning to let go of a bit of control and kind of moving away from that operational involvement at all points to a bit more strategic oversight. So I think like books and podcasts are great, but people tend to follow people and not theories. So I think a lot of it is also just about is kind of about character, and then all the things that we've talked about, listening, being caring, and being consistent.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. This is why, I started this podcast, is to bring leaders like yourself, who can share your journey, so the audience can learn, upcoming leaders, they can learn something, because every journey is different, we can learn from every journey. And then, like you said, people follow person, people follow people. So that's why it's great to have, rather than someone speaking on it's like sharing your personal journey helps a lot, basically.
Yeah, and there's no right or wrong. There's different. There's different styles, and they suit different organisations and different people and different times.
Yeah, indeed. This is why all those leadership frameworks, like situational leadership, helps, right? Depending on the context, depending on where you are, you have to have that leadership style. Yeah. So let's move on to the future, Ollie. What trends do you foresee, shaping the future of digital agencies, and how Filter is preparing for them?
Yeah. I mean, again, I think we talked a lot about, this sort of exponential technological change and how it's becoming, increasingly hard to keep up, let alone kind of peer into the future. Clearly AI is here, and I think that presents a really good opportunity for us as agencies to help our clients to integrate these capabilities and these tools into their businesses. We're seeing already, particularly in the hospitality industry, businesses that are embracing it are seeing 20 to 30% uplift in client satisfaction and operational efficiencies. So I think our role is actually, to help integrate in the correct way for our clients and educate. I think there's a lot happening around content space, and I think there's a real role there as content as a strategic service, particularly with all of the multiple channels and formats that we have available to us in quite a noisy world. And then I think the other big one is search and search engine optimization as we know it. And we're seeing it's a really interesting space. I think we're seeing a fundamental change in how people are using the internet, and people, if you kind of look at the top of the marketing funnel and people in the research and the kind of consideration stages as they move through those funnels, I think we're seeing that a lot of people are doing that work now through AI and referencing rather than necessarily getting to the destination website. And I think that gives us a really good opportunity to think about the solutions that we provide. I think the overall theme of what's happening and what the future is for me is kind of less is more. So digital is incredibly fragmented. There's loads of tools. There's loads of channels. It's really difficult to switch off. And I think it would be really interesting to really think about how you cut through and how you create value through all of that noise. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge that we all have.
Yeah, indeed. And how do you then envision the role of personalization evolving in digital experiences?
Yeah, I think it's changing. We're seeing this shift to first-party data, this increasing responsibility, I guess, that comes with delivering content-driven personalization in a compliant way. I think if we look back at how personalization's evolved, we've gone from almost local shop to knowing your name, through to kind of the internet and like rule based, like we were talking about earlier. So age, behavior, location, and essentially swapping out content based on those kind of rules. We've then sort of moved into the sort of more data-driven area where we're looking at purchase history and user data to start to provide product recommendations and all the things that we're kind of used to when we surf, particularly like sort of e-commerce stores. And then I guess we've kind of moved into the AI agent era, which is much more about kind of predictive models. It's adapting content based on maybe intent or potentially mood even, or like voice and interactions like that. So, I think there's still quite a long way to go in personalization. I don't think many people do it particularly well. I mean, you have the obvious examples of Amazon, Netflix, Spotify. But I think there's a lot of headroom there for businesses to be able to do personalization better and in a more informed way.
Yeah, 100%. I can see, because we all use these services that you mentioned, right? Amazon, and then how good they are in personalization, and then how good they are kind of thinking ahead what the other person is, trying to watch and trying to think. So so there's
exactly. Yeah, and sorry to talk over you, but also you see the flaws, don't you? Where you've already bought the trainers that you've had the targeting advertising for, but they're going to keep surfacing those trainers to you because they don't know that you've completed the loop. So there's a lot of wastage there.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why sometimes, as usual, I'm going to say again. Sometimes, as a customer, I get frustrated because I've already, bought that pair of shoes. Right? I don't want to see again and again.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Oli, looking ahead for the new upcoming leaders who are watching this episode, what advice would you give to them, especially leaders who are coming up in digital space?
Yeah, I mean, I probably don't have any particularly amazing advice, but I just think early on you need to realize that you need to be adaptable and you'll need to keep transforming and iterating what you do to stay relevant. I think the most important thing for me is to remain human and to remain very humble. I think with any success that you have, there'll probably be a downside to that at some point. So don't get ahead of yourself. Remember those principles of giving back to people where you can, looking after people, not burning bridges. So embrace curiosity and challenges ahead of you. And something an old client used to say to me, he said, if you reach for the stars, you might just get there. If you reach for the gutter, you probably will. And I always think that's quite nice.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And now looking back, just my last question, sorry, we're running out of time. Looking back, what do you wish you had known when you started your entrepreneurial journey?
Yes, it's something my dad used to say to me that didn't really click until, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so ago. But
okay.
It's quite similar. It's the power of the network, and it sounds quite obvious, but I guess networking is how businesses grow beyond their own limits, and it can open doors. It can build, trust. It can generate new leads, but it's the opportunities you can't plan for that it creates, and it's the opportunities that you can't necessarily grow without. So I think actually, again, the power of the network, perhaps going back up to the last question slightly, being humble, building good relationships with people, they stand you in good stead.
Brilliant. I'm going to take this as well, as a lesson, power of network. So thanks for sharing that with us, Ollie. Yeah.
You've got a good network right here.
I need to build on top of that so I can invite more leaders like yourself, on the show. So thank you very much, Ollie. Thanks for giving your time and sharing your learnings, your challenges as well with the audience. And as honest I know you will be, that's why I invited you. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Rohit. I've loved it. Really nice to see you. Pleased to see you doing so well, and look forward to catching up soon.
100%. Definitely. Thank you. Okay, audience, cheers. I'll be back. Thank you. Okay, audience, I'll be back with a new guest, new leader next month. Till then, take care, stay safe, and bye for now. And remember, power of network.